guys, welcome to the Chelsea Skidmore Show. I'm here today with my guest, comedian producer Brian Redban.
Hello.
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 We were just talking about how you're so good at doing voices.
Yeah. God. No, I mean, I used to be. When I was younger, I would have like all these voices lined up, but they were all like people of that time, like Ronald Reagan and
Where was
date
it?
my age. What was that?
Where did this happen?
Oh, just like at school and stuff. Like I would always do voices around. I was always like the class clowny kind of person.
I was class clown.
Yeah.
In the yearbook.
I think that most of us are probably.
I know.
Yeah.
But like who was officially...
Oh, I wasn't even officially a class clown. Like the guy that, all the people that got chosen for all those things were all the popular kids. Because it's like, you know, so it was like class clown. And he's just like the quarterback of our football team. We're like, what? Why? Because he slaps people's asses with towels in the locker room? Get the fuck out of here.
Did you actually have one of those locker rooms where you could shower in them?
I think we did. But I was one of those guys that never wanted to go in the locker room. Because I was so... When I was younger, we went to like this athletic club. Like my family went to this like really nice athletic club. Like we were members, and my dad would always take me to the locker room. And I just remember being a little kid seeing too much old man dick everywhere, and they just kind of scarred me for life. And so when I was in high school, I was like, "Fuck locker rooms! I'll just take a shower when I get home," you know, type shit.
But did people actually shower there?
Yeah.
Because it's like I see that in, you know, movies, TV shows, and our gym just wasn't actually like that.
Right.
No one showered there, so I just wanted to know if it was like a real thing or a movie thing.
Yeah, we had a new high school. Like we had a brand new high school when we went there. Like we were the first year of the high school, so everything was decked out, like awesome, like, you know, locker rooms. We had a Pizza Hut inside of our...
Shut up.
Yeah.
You're lying.
Yeah, what was it was a Pizza Hut and they're owned by the same...
Taco Bell?
Yeah, we had Pizza Hut and Taco Bell in our...
You're lying. Well,
No.
but... Okay, but wasn't that not like a conjunction when you were in high school?
What do you mean?
Like, were they... I thought that was more of like a newer Pizza Hut and Taco Bell.
No, I think that's the parent company has been together for a while. If not, they just had it for some reason.
But I thought the combination was like a newer thing.
No, it's been around for a while.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And so you grew up in Ohio?
Yeah.
Right? In where?
Columbus.
Okay, Cleveland is the capital.
No, Columbus is.
I'm so embarrassed.
Why? Your Ohio facts are...
I'm not embarrassed, actually. I don't know much between New York and LA.
Right.
But I'm sure, you know, I want to know more.
You should. It's way better in the middle.
So Columbus, rural city.
Yeah, it's just like it's like Burbank everywhere. You know, it's like very suburban. It's a test market city, so like all the companies go there and be like, "Hey, we're going to try out Chipotle. This is new Mexican thing. We're trying to, you know." So we had all these things way before everyone else. Like,
wow.
Yeah, so it was always interesting because you'd go to other states and you're like, "What the hell is what, you know?" Yoshinoya. Yeah, exactly.
Is it an official test city?
I don't think if there's official anything about it, but it's just it's completely average, like everyone, you know, household income, you know, and all that, you know, beliefs, and so like there was always new stuff there. Like we had McPizza before everybody else.
McPizza?
Yeah, they used to have pizza there. We had Wendy's owned a chicken place that was supposed to compete with KFC, and that was called Sisters Chicken and Biscuits, which was like a total KFC ripoff, but it was like old women instead of old men. You know, so it was really interesting because Columbus is pretty cool because we had all these cool things that no other states did. So it was
it looks like they tested that also at your school first. Probably figured out it just makes everyone obese and lazy.
Exactly. Yeah, looking back at it, it's pretty ridiculous that they had Taco Bell at her.
Yeah.
This is cool.
That's so interesting about the testing. I wonder if that's where they do a lot of the Nielsen ratings as well.
Yeah, I think they did because a lot of my friends were Nielsen people. I remember the box that sat on top of their TV.
Did you... And I know this, like, on the outside, you're like, I'm assuming a pretty technical person. Mm-hmm. Did you used to steal the cable? Remember that?
Oh, yeah. I did all the stealing cable. We did, like, it was crazy because it was so much easier back then. Like, when cable first came out, we had the first cable. It was called Cube.
Yes.
You never remember Cube?
Well, isn't that what Steve Jobs made up? Or is that a Cube computer?
No, I think
there was something before Apple. That was like Cube.
Before Apple. I don't know.
Okay.
But no, Cube was like, we had this big box, and it had like a cable coming out of it going to your TV, and there was like 12 buttons on it, and you had to push it like channel 1, channel 2. But there was a way, if you just put a magnet on it, that you got all the channels and all the pay-per-views for free.
Whoa, that's easy.
Yeah, it was so easy back then. Or the big thing was splitting cable. Like if you had like multiple TVs, you'd split the cable line and stuff like that. But no, it was fun back then, doing all that shit.
It was. Those were the days. Yeah, and now people do the thing where they steal stuff off like that website that they put on the Fire Stick
Fire
chip.
Sticks,
What's
yeah.
that other thing called?
Just like torrents and stuff like that. But the Fire Stick hack, yeah.
Yeah, do you do that?
No, I mean, I have it, but I don't know. Recently, it's just all the times you watch anything on there, it's all shitty quality, And it's like, I have this really nice TV. Why do I want to watch this shitty quality? I could just rent it for $5, like.
Yeah. Or it's like, remember buying DVDs and then you're like, this is someone just filming it in a movie theater.
Right, yeah. So I used to do all that stuff, like steal music, steal movies and all that shit. But I think, I grew up a little and have money now. So it's like, why bother?
iTunes came, Napster went.
Yeah, exactly.
So you grew up in Ohio. You said that you weren't a jock. Like, what kind of kid were you?
I was an artist. Like I painted all the time. I hung out with all artist kids and one Japanese kid. We were kind of like, most of the time we were like the nerds, the comic book guys. And then in high school, like when puberty hit or whatever, then I started just hanging out with hot chicks. Like I wasn't popular. I just hung out with all the popular girls.
How'd you get to do that?
I don't really remember.
Did you have a car?
I had a car, but everyone had cars. I think it was just because I don't know. I grew into.
Were you like funny?
Yeah, I was funny and everything, but all the girls liked me. So
okay.
And it kind of sucked because on one side I was hanging out with all the hot girls. Like we'd go at like lunch, go to my house and smoke pot with like 3 of the like the hottest girls in the school. So that was cool. But then on the other hand, all the jocks were like, "Why is that little twerp hanging out with you?" Like they hated it that I hung out with them. So it was cool. And then in high school mostly I just drew and painted and stuff like that.
And then did you go to college?
I did. I was going for multimedia production and design. It was sort of like when the internet first came out. They didn't have any degrees for it. They were like, so they called it multimedia production and design, which was making websites, doing Flash and stuff. So I did all that. And then since nobody else was going to school for this, or it was so new, companies were trying to find anybody that knew how to make a website. So like I got a really good job when I was I think a senior or junior in college or whatever. And so then I just quit. I was like, fuck, I don't need to go spend any more money at school or go to school. I have the job that I'm going to school for, Yeah. And then I worked for this big software company for a while, and then it was like
Which one?
It was called The Software People, believe it or not. And it was weird because it was all Indian based, and we had about 200 employees, and they were all Indian, fresh off the boat though. I mean, and my job was to train them so they can go on job interviews and seem American. Like
seem American?
Right.
Was that told to you?
Yeah, to help them out to get jobs. So I had to hang out with them, tell them tell them what not to do, what to do, and it was weird because I was like a 24-year-old. And I had like all these employees, like a humongous amount of employees, and there was new ones coming in all the time from India. And I remember one time it really sucked because this one guy just smelled like shit. Like he every time he was there, the whole place would smell, and it was just him.
Oh
it was not.
God.
And so I had to tell him like, "Hey man, can you like wear deodorant or something like that?" And
what was the problem?
He just didn't wear deodorant. And
wow.
And so then he got really pissed off. Next day he came in like a suit and tie and all showered to like I don't know, kind of be
He's
a
like
dick.
Happy? You're like, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly.
We are happy.
Exactly. And I don't know. So then they kind of turned on me because they got so offended that I told that guy he smelled it, and all that, everyone's like, "Oh, he's such a dick." I'm like, "You guys suck."
Oh, now they're all working for the man.
Yeah.
That's so odd that telling them to look American
Yeah.
They
Well, not look American,
or to
but
act. I'm sorry,
American.
But what does that like consist of? I've never heard that before. It sounds like a futuristic movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just for interviews and stuff, like don't say this, say that. I can't even remember. It's been so long, but it was fun. They actually made a movie about it. Exactly the job I did. I forget what it's called now, but it was like I watched it and it was like it sounded like they just took my life at the time.
That's a trip.
Yeah.
And you were you were good at like building code and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, back then I built computers, code, anything computers, electronics and stuff. And, I was making websites that had videos on them before YouTube. And back then it was like 56K modems and 28K modems. So it was like it took like an hour for an image just to load up.
Oh,
you know what I mean? So then like I was really good at compressing videos really, really small so that you could actually load them up on a computer.
That's still hard.
It's still hard. Yeah, it's still hard. But I got really good at that, and that's how I got like Doug Stanhope. I started making videos for Doug Stanhope and Joe Rogan at that time period, and that's how Joe ended up going, "Hey, I want you to move to LA and work for me."
I really want to get into that, but I'm not quite done with computers. Were you using Telnet?
Telnet.
And that's just what I wanted to come here and do with you today.
What's Telnet?
You don't know what Telnet is?
I don't know. Seems familiar.
It's like that. It was, I don't know how to describe it. It's like that black screen with like the green and you enter in the commands. It's like a...
Oh, you're talking about DOS. You're just talking about...
Is that what it is?
Like terminal or DOS.
I guess.
Yeah.
What about a Linux shell?
Linux. No, I never got into that shit. I was more in like HTML coding, JavaScript and shit like
CSS.
that. Yeah, stuff for internet websites. And I was really good at Flash, which was animation, like computer, and like you can make cartoons and stuff.
Okay, because I love the movie Hackers, and I got so into hacking, and I like thought you might have like that. So that was like a secret thing I was so excited to talk to you about, and it just got crashed and burned.
Back then it was a little easier to do kind of hacking type things. Like long time ago when it was like you had to put your phone had to call, like they had an actual phone that you called through. I can't even remember what it was
It's
called.
like a blue box or something.
Something like that, yeah. We used to hack our library. Like, you could just call up the library and, like, change your fees. Like, if you owed money and stuff like that. Or if you had a book, you could say that you checked it back in and stuff. But that was no fun. We were like, what do we fucking hack the library? Who gives a shit?
Yeah, well, I was, like, obsessed with that movie. And I started, like, looking it up a lot. And I was like in middle school then. By the way, I had a Gateway. You worked at Gateway 2000.
Sweet.
And so, yeah, I would use that Telnet program. And then you would go on, like, there was like this website called happyhacker.org. Does any of this sound familiar?
No.
And you would get people's IP numbers and passwords. And I got the address of like a Mexican high school. And I didn't really know what commands but I was in their system for like 10 minutes and then I like left because I was scared.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was like all those things about like getting like black boxes or blue boxes or whatever from like Radio Shack, and then you can do the thing where you call, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really barely remember that. That was at the very beginning of like, that was long time ago.
Yeah.
When I used to do that shit. But yeah, no, I never got into the hacking too much. I would do like pranks and stuff like that, but never.
Oh, like progies?
Progies, yeah. Yeah. Like I had my favorite one, and I can't believe I used to do this because it's pretty fucked up. It was an exe file long time ago. You'd be like, oh my God, check this out. And like people would click on it, and it would just replace anytime they would type on their computer. It would just say, I like to suck fucking cock. And so, like, you'd be like, no, stop it. Like, anything you do. Now, you're supposed to hit the escape button, and it will stop it. But, like, I just put it out there and never told anyone how to turn it off. And so, you would have all these people, like, on, what was it back then? MySpace, maybe? Like, just
AOL.
going. Yeah, it was
chat rooms.
Something like that. It was just people going, I like to suck fucking cock. But you could tell they're pissed because they
so
keep
funny.
on saying it.
Is that phishing? PHIS.
No. Jesus. Look at you. Fishing.
Okay, so I want to hear. Okay, we can move on from that. So, how did Stanhope and Rogan see your videos? And what were the videos that you were making?
Well, like when you live in Ohio and you're just bored out of your mind, you try to find cool things to do. And what I did is I would contact, like at the time I was working at a record store, and I would contact people like musicians that I like. Like at the time, I liked Nine Inch Nails a lot, and I found out that Nine Inch Nails, like I looked on the back of their CD and I saw like their record label address, and so I would contact the record label. I would send them a letter, be like, "Hey, I have this newsletter for Nine Inch Nail fans, and I was wondering if I can get an interview with Trent Reznor." And they're like, "Oh, send us a copy of this newsletter." And I'm like, "Fuck," because back then there wasn't like I didn't have like computers, like so I had to like cut and paste articles and like type things out on a typewriter, like questions and answers, like make this fake newsletter. And it was like 5 pages long, and I had fake like editorials and photos and like all this stupid shit.
So you made the actual
newsletter, and then I went to Kinko's and made copies of it, and I sent them it, and they were like, "Holy shit, this is awesome! I can't believe you have this. You get free tickets and free backstage passes to any Nine Inch Nails, Marilyn Manson."
Oh my God!
Like, yeah, and I'm like, "Whoa, I got through. Like, how is this?" So then for years, I would just go to Nine Inch Nail concerts and hang out with Trent, and I met Trent many times. I hung out with Marilyn many times, and then I got into comedy. And Stanhope was like my favorite at the time, Stanhope and Rogan. And so then I contact Stanhope, and I was like, "Hey, man."
How did you contact them?
Back then it was message boards, I think. Like I met Doug through his message board. Like, "Hey, if you ever want me to film any videos, I can make it for your website, And he was like, "What? You know how to do that?" And so I would do that to Stanhope. I'd make little videos. I also remade his whole website at one point, and he had like he had my website for like 3 years that I designed for him. And then Rogan saw what I was doing over at Stanhope. So Rogan goes, "Hey, can come to my shows and do the same thing." So Rogan would fly me out to like Texas and like New York and stuff. And then I did so much for Rogan. And then one day he's just like, "You should do this for a living," And so then he flew me out to LA, and I've been working for him ever since. So it's weird.
And what year was that?
It was when I was 30. So 14 years ago.
What was his... how was like his popularity back then?
He just got Fear Factor, so he was blowing the fuck up right when I moved there. It was like he was blowing up at that point. He was already kind of big from news radio, but this was like I witnessed him just go from this point to like we were getting mobbed at anywhere we went type shit.
Really?
Yeah, Fear Factor was crazy back then.
Yeah, I remember watching it.
Yeah, we'd go to airports and just everyone like go crazy because they see I'm at the airport type shit.
Yeah. Did you ever go to any of the tapings?
Yeah, my first week when I moved here, he took me to a taping, and it was my first time ever eating an edible. He had like all these edibles, and so I ate one, and we didn't feel anything, and then we ate another one because back then we were like, "Oh, I should feel something. I just ate it," we didn't know it was not instant. And so I ate a second one, and then he goes, "Well, I got to start filming. So once you hang out here with like in the like where all the directors and producers are in like this big trailer type thing." And then I started panicking. I was sweating. I was freaking out. I was having a panic attack. And so then I like went out of the trailer, and I just sat there outside. And then these two girls that worked on the show, they saw that I was like freaking out, so they took me into their car. And I was just having straight on panic attack because I was so stoned. I've never used
edibles are terrifying.
Yeah, they are. And back then, when you never had them before, and you're used to Ohio weed and all this shit. The first time was one of the most stressful because I was at Fear Factor. That's cool, but I was also having like a straight on panic attack with strangers.
Yeah, on a and the Fear Factor made it worse.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember it was so gross. Like. What, like people getting like covered in spiders or some shit like that?
Yeah, and people drinking horse cum and stuff.
Horse cum?
Yeah, that was
they did that on TV?
It was the last episode, and I think it was supposed to air, and then they pulled it at the last second, and it didn't air, but it aired in other countries, so you can go on YouTube and watch it.
Oh my God.
So disgusting. Like people were drinking gallons of horse cum.
Who?
Like contestants, like women and guys and stuff like that.
Did they win money?
Only one person wins money on that show. So like there was like 6 people that didn't win money that drank horse cum.
Oh, did they have to like outdo each other?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I forgot the format. Wow, that's disgusting. I'm definitely going to look that up. So
yes.
So then gross. You started making videos, and then you created the podcast. Yeah.
We used to we used to do. I don't know, for like maybe 7 years, I would just follow Rogan around with a camera. Like we would come here to the Comedy Store, and it was so weird back then because now I can't even imagine doing that nowadays. But we would I would set a camera in the back of the room. I would film every set of Rogan's here. And then I would follow Rogan around the Comedy Store and record all the people that talk to him and like anything that happens with him. Then I would make these little videos. They're called Joe shows. And those are pretty popular. And but not until like the Carlos
Mencia. Yeah, I always hear about that, and there
we go.
Right.
Not until the Carlos Mencia video did it blow the fuck up.
So tell me the story about that.
What, Carlos Mencia video?
Yeah.
One night, well, it was one of those things that it was bound to happen, eventually. But everyone was always saying how Rogan or Carlos Mencia stole their joke and stole this joke. So it was kind of known within comics. And then what was weird, though, like maybe a month before that happened, Paulie, I think, said no more filming at the Comedy Store. He thought the Joe Show videos we were making, he didn't understand they were just for like YouTube and stuff. We weren't making a show or anything.
Okay.
But one day Paulie was like, I think he was the one that said it. It was like, no more filming at the Comedy Store. So I wasn't allowed to film at the Comedy Store anymore. So, but what I would do is I would have little cameras that would still bring with me just in case if something fucked up happened, like if somebody attacks Joe, I want to be able to have a camera or something. And so I was sitting on the front patio and Ari Shaffir runs outside and grabs him and goes, Brian, do you have a camera on you? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, go inside right now and film. Carlos Mencia and Joe are fighting on stage or something like that. So I run in, start filming, and like Carlos wasn't even supposed to be on the stage. It was Joe Rogan was getting off stage and bringing up Kirk Fox, and he said something like, this next guy works for Carlos Mencia. Give it up for Kirk Fox. And I think Carlos was in the back hallway and heard that and just bum rushes the stage and starts yelling and calling Rogan out. And then Joe got back on stage. And then it was, if you've seen the video, but what's interesting back then, it was like Kirk Fox kept on trying to take my camera and like turn it off and stuff like that. And I'm like, what are you doing? Who are you? Get away from me, man. Like, like it was weird. Like, but after that happened, it was, I went home that night, edited it till like 7 a.m.
Wow.
Uploaded it to YouTube, went to bed at like 8 a.m, woke up and it had already had like 3 million views.
Oh my God.
Back then, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it was on the cover of like every single TMZ, every single website. It was on the news. It was like, Jimmy Kimmel was talking about, or whoever, all the night guys were talking. So like in 24 hours, I went from, that to this. And so then, after that video, we did a couple more videos, but I was so sick of editing videos because it would be like a month of filming Rogan, like, I don't know, 100 hours. Right. And then I would have to like try to make a story out of it. And it was so monotonous and the same, like, oh, he's in the green room. Oh, he's walking, like, that's not interesting.
Trying to make something out of just like...
And it was hard. Because I would also have to take all that video and code it into my computer. It was before like memory cards. It was like when it was tapes. So I had to sit there and put it on the computer, and that took forever.
What program were you using?
Premiere back then, I think. Yeah. And, but I was so sick of editing and trying to do these things. So I was always trying to get Joe just to do live streaming from like a green room, and it's like maybe I could just get him into doing this, and now we don't have to do I don't have to do any more editing. And we did it a few times, like in San Francisco and a couple other places, but it never caught on. And then Rogan kept on going, we should do this from my house, just hang out and answer questions. And I was like, okay, let's do that. And so we did that a few times, and then people were like, you shouldn't take the audio from this and make it a podcast.
And were podcasts a thing then?
Not really. I mean, podcasts were not really popular back then.
Who?
I think Adam Carolla just started one because he got fired from the radio station, so he started doing his own, and that's when people were like, "Oh, podcast." I think Mark Maron maybe had one.
Yeah.
But then we just started taking these like live stream question and answer things, taking the audio, making a podcast, and then like overnight, it just started blowing the fuck up. Like we're getting millions of people within the third episode, and we're like, whoa, this is huge. So then we started spending more money on
a million people in the third episode,
something like that. It was crazy.
Were you doing anything to promote? Like, what were you like, is it just he already had the following?
He already had the fear factors. He started having UFC people. So people were already following him on like social media, like MySpace and Twitter or whatever was back then.
Okay, so those were the...
So that helped, you know. But also, I think because Rogan's so good at talking for 3 hours that like people started getting addicted to it quick. Like, oh man, I'm getting 3 hours of Joe. Like, we used to only get these 10-minute videos that Brian would make, and now we're getting 3 hours once a week. This is crazy.
Did he have to get up to go to the bathroom?
Oh yeah, we had a bathroom it was in his office. Okay. It was like in a place like this, but he had a bathroom in the next room. So he would like leave me, and I would just sit there and have to like talk, or you could hear him like farting in the next room. The older episodes were amazing, I think, because they were so raw and so completely different than what the show is now.
Because now it's very intellectual.
Yeah, and that's what, like, when Joe kind of reformatted it. Okay. Like it used to be like a comedy, goofy. Even if we had Neil deGrasse Tyson on it, it was still like me doing, you know, asking crazy questions and shit. So it was way looser back then. But then I think when it got so big and sponsors started being like such a big part of the show, I think Joe was like, you know what, I'm ready to do like a serious interview show. Yeah. So it's almost like a different show than it used to be, but with the same name kind of thing. Yeah, and it's funny because, you know, I watch it now once in a while, and it's cool because it's like Joe has really interesting topics and talks, you know, to guests. But then you look at, like, I watched an episode with Joey Diaz and me and Joe from, I think it was like episode 100 or something. And it was so much fun, like, watching that. It was a completely different show, though. Like, and a lot of people, when they come up to me, they always go, well, I miss the old ones. And I hear it, like, every day. And I do, too, man, because it was fun. Like, I really wish you just made a different show.
Yeah, almost. I wonder why that change...
Probably sponsors, I'm
guessing.
First
of all, did you notice that Elon Musk didn't inhale?
Yeah.
That's like a whole thing, right? I don't read like Reddit and message boards.
He didn't inhale, but anytime you have pot smoke in your mouth, it immediately absorbs into your cheeks and your tongue and stuff like that. So it doesn't really matter if you got it. He's still probably
Why didn't he inhale?
He probably doesn't know how to smoke.
I know. How funny was that?
Yeah. Okay. I think he did it just to be a badass. Like,
right.
In his head, like, I'm smoking weed, Rogan, flamethrowers.
I mean, yeah, I try. I'm, you know, not in a bad way, but like that episode just made me sleepy because there was just so much I didn't understand.
Well, yeah, and he has a very robotic kind of way to him, like an engineer. Like it's very weird person. I mean, it was interesting, but yeah, I see what you're saying. It's just, yeah.
It was like hypnotic.
Mm-hmm.
So you were doing that when it was a different podcast and it was growing. And what did you guys do? It was just the same promotional way that it, like, how did it grow so big?
It just grew into its word of mouth mostly. I mean, and plus, I mean, Joe has a lot of Twitter followers and stuff. So anytime we went live, he would tweet it, and you know, it's the power of numbers. I forget how many people he has now, but I mean, when you have that many people and they're loyal fans. Also, the topics that Joe would talk about were so rare. Like, you didn't hear anyone talking about DMT or conspiracies back then. Back then, Joe was really into conspiracies. Like, he didn't think we went to the moon. He you know, World Trade Center and Tower Number 7. He was in all that. He was like Alex Jones, kind of.
Oh, my God.
Because Alex Jones was our friend, and so we so we would all have, like, you know, half the shit that Alex says is bullshit, but the other half is like, there's something to that. You might be right. But
where do you stand on some of that stuff?
Alex Jones or conspiracies?
Just conspiracies.
I've never been a huge conspiracy guy. I've always been the one that, like, we went to the moon. You know, like
yeah.
But that's why the show worked, because I would.
That people, yeah, okay,
you know
that's
what I mean?
A thing, right?
Yeah, like ebony and ivory type thing. But it's funny now because Rogan, the older he gets, now he doesn't really believe in any of that shit. He still has like little conspiracies here and there, but nothing major. Like the most interesting episode was when we had Neil deGrasse Tyson on, and Rogan at the time did, I think, believe we didn't go to the moon. So watching Rogan try to talk or try to like pull a fast one on Neil just kind of owned him, like not owned him, but owned any idea of that we didn't go to the moon. So like after that podcast, I saw, like, it was amazing. It was kind of like finally he believes that we win, you know. And then it was kind of a wake up call, I think, because I think, you know, when you hang out with people like Alex Jones and all these other people who were hanging out that believed all these conspiracies, you start believing it too, just because you know what I mean?
Okay, so I work, you know, Matt Billen, door guy here, huge conspiracist. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
You know, I'll spend the night working with him. By 2 a.m., I believe in Pizzagate.
Oh, God.
Is that not a thing?
That's not a thing.
Oh, my God. And he'll just bring up all these websites, and I'm tired. I have nothing else to do in there. And I'm like, wait, this person's a pedophile? Like, this person has a sex ring? It's
the dumbest shit ever. It's so stupid.
Yeah, I hate the Sandy Hook one. I think that's terrible.
I hate the flat earth thing.
But there is that little actor kid.
What kid?
The crisis actor kid who has popped up at different places.
Yeah. Well, that kid is my headphones cutting out. That kid's actually, he wants to be a news reporter. Like no, like he's always been like, that's why you always see him on you've seen him on so many news things before, because that's what he wants to get into when he grows up. Like he purposely seeks out to be on the news and stuff. He's not a crisis actor. He's just a fucking kid that is a nerd that's been.
But
filmed
wasn't he pretending he was at a bunch of different? Didn't he show up at like a bunch of different?
No, I think
scenes?
he's been in 2 different shootings. That's
so
why.
he just keeps going to bad schools.
Yeah. Well, I also think that it happens a lot more frequent than we think. You know, like I mean, that shit's almost daily now. You know,
really?
Different
That's
schools
insane.
have something going on.
So, at what point did you create Deathsquad?
When Joe's podcast started getting popular,
did you have to kind of figure out what am I doing? What's my next step?
Well, no. I was kind of like, wow, this is really cool. Podcasts are amazing. Look how awesome it's getting for Joe. And I was like, you know what? I want to make one for all my friends. I want to make one for Brody. I want to make one for Ari. I want to make one for Sam. And so I decided, as like a hobby on the side, I was going to spend a bunch of money and make a studio at my house. And I was like, because I knew all this equipment because we bought it for Joe's. So I made a little small studio and I started, and I was like, you know what, I want to make a podcast for all these people. I should make it like a TV network. And back then I don't think anyone had a podcast network. I don't even think that was a thing.
Yeah.
And so I was like, in my head, I was thinking like it was going to be like a TV network. So I created a Deathsquad so that I could produce all these podcasts, and it was like all under the same network. And my idea was that when people downloaded the Deathsquad podcast, that like if they like Brody, but maybe they don't know who Sam Tripoli is, but you would automatically get all of them. So you kind of were force fed.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I didn't have just like the Sam Tripoli show on iTunes. I had only Deathsquad, and it was just to help each other's out, and like that was my idea. So
that's
like,
very cool,
right? And so then I did them for Tom Segura's Mom House. I started that, all these podcasts, and that blew up crazy big. You know,
and how did theirs like? I feel like it's almost like I'm looking for like an algorithm type answer to what is making all of them blow up.
Well, how it blew up was just because everyone who listened to Joe were hungry for more content, and then here I am making 5 different shows a week, 6 different shows.
And they all know who you are.
Yeah, because I was the co-host at the time, and so they would all just come to that, and it was really cool because it worked. It did exactly what I wanted. It helped my friends out. It blew them up. It got their podcast going. Like I don't know how many, Ari Shaffir as an example, I think we did like 70 episodes or 40 episodes together, and then he started doing it on his own, and then I started making a different podcast. So it was kind of just weird. I was just creating content, making new shows, then when that show left, making new ones, and it was a hobby at first, and I funded the whole thing using like making shirts and stuff like that. Then it became, oh my God, this is like 12 different jobs that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because I never had any employees this whole time. I was editing all these podcasts. I was co-hosting on all these podcasts. I was doing I think at one point I was doing 11 podcasts a week, not including Joe's podcast. And so when that kind of hit me after like 4 years of doing that.
4 years?
Yeah, I was burnt.
That's exhausting.
Yeah, I was burnt out as...
I thought you were going to be like 3 months later.
No, because I mean, it went from my house to then I got the studio at the Ice House. And I mean, after about 4 years, one day, I forget what happened, who it was. But one day I was like, I have enough. I stopped doing all my podcasts. Like I was doing my own podcast. I was doing, funny enough, my biggest podcast that I was doing was called Dysentery, the Sexual Harassment of Women. I think you were on it, right?
No,
but it was called Dysentery, and actually the tagline was Dysentery, the Sexual Harassment, the Sexual Harassment of Brian Redban. That's what it was called. Oh,
that's funny.
Yeah, and it was pretty much the week that I stopped doing it, then all this Weinstein and all this like Cosby shit started happening. I'm like, that's funny. I should still do it right now, you know?
Yeah. Wait, well, that's the one at the Ice House before your shows?
No, that's the Ice House Chronicles.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But I was doing anyway, so I had my own podcast. I had Dysentery. And I just quit them all.
It's a lot.
I was like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on Kill Tony and not, because I just didn't want to I was so burnt out on a podcast. And so I've been kind of quiet on podcasts, doing Deathsquad podcasts, except Kill Tony for about 2 years maybe. And just recently I'm like, all right, I should start doing more podcasts. But so yeah, now I'm doing 3 a week maybe.
That's still a lot. Who's others?
Well, I'm doing Kill Tony, I'm doing the Ice House Chronicles, and I just started a new one with Sandro and PDC. It's like police chase podcast where we watch police chases and commentary on police chases.
Oh,
and
that's
stuff.
funny.
And just brought back Broden and Esther, which is Esther Pavitsky and Brody Stevens, and about to bring back Dysentery, I think, just because of the timing and the content.
Yeah. So it kind of seems like every podcast that you've touched has become really successful.
It's been, yeah. I mean, there's a lot that didn't work out, you know, but for the most part, almost all of them were.
I mean, Kill Tony's huge.
Kill Tony, Your Mom's House is one of the biggest ones. Ari Shafir's is one of the biggest ones. You know, I helped out Joey Diaz at the beginning too, so that's pretty big.
Do you think that at the time you were the only one kind of creating comedians didn't know how to have podcasts,
right,
and you were the one who was giving them the platform to do so, and it was just becoming a thing? It was like they got in at the right time.
Yeah. That was a big thing, definitely the timing. And a lot of people didn't know how to do podcasts. You know, so that seems so foreign. Now everyone knows, just buy an MP3 recorder and a couple mics and you got one. But back then it was like, oh, this Brian has a whole studio. And I had Skype-ins, you could call in. I had videos, you know, I was doing video and audio. So we were kind of doing even though Rogan's show is a podcast, we've been kind of always had it as more in a TV show format. And, you know, it's always been video. Every Deathsquad podcast I've done has been a video podcast.
So you think that's extremely important?
Yeah, nowadays, definitely.
I'm smiling at the camera.
Definitely now. I definitely think video is very important nowadays.
I don't always put the video up.
I mean, sometimes it's just boring, especially when it's just
who's watching?
Yeah. But sometimes I watch a lot of YouTube nowadays, and that just started recently. I prefer video. You know,
well, I think my brother watches all the Rogan videos,
yeah.
Which is funny because it's I didn't even know that he knew who he was or following him, and then he just starts screenshotting me the video frames, and he's like, "Do you know this guy? Do you know this guy? He's in New York," and it's just so funny. So, okay. So Deathsquad started with the podcasting, but it's also a group of, it's an umbrella of comedians.
Yeah,
it's a little.
It's pretty much all my friends and all the friends that we hang out with. That's pretty much what Deathsquad is. It's because before we did the podcast, we joked and called ourselves Deathsquad, me, Tate Fletcher, Joe, Eddie Bravo, Ari Shafir, Duncan Trussell. We'd call our gang look at that Deathsquad, you know. So it was kind of a nickname that we already had, you know, before I even did it, called the podcast Deathsquad. And
what's with the little lucky kitty?
Well, that's actually, one day I was at a gas station in Burbank, and it was a bodega where they, you know, bodegas have a little toy section sometimes that's just dusty toys from, you know, no one would buy. One time they had this alarm clock of a lucky cat, and it had his arm up, you know, like the lucky cat does, but he had a clock in the middle. And I remember looking at it going, that looks like somebody just planted a bomb in this, you know, because it looks like a bomb, you know. And so I bought it because it was $1, and then I went home and painted it. And it was a cool painting and all this stuff like that. And then when I created the Deathsquad, I was looking over at that painting I did, and I was like, that would be the perfect logo for it. It looks like, you know, it looks like a suicide bomber, you know?
And
it's
that's funny. Yeah.
And so, so I just put the two together, and then, that blew the fuck up, which was cool. But I was, you know, when I first started Deathsquad, I made that a t-shirt, and overnight that, I don't know how much I sold, but it was like thousands and thousands of those shirts, and I had to overnight I had to
You're such an overnight sensation. I said that completely genuinely,
right? But I threw that because on all the podcasts I was doing, now I created a t-shirt company that blew up, and I think one time I had maybe 2,000 orders. I had
what,
and it was just me. So I'd come home from doing podcasts all day. And then I would just sit in my living room and put shirts in bags, and like I had to. And back then I had to do by hand like all the addresses and stuff like that. And I remember it would take me hours and hours, and it would take me weeks just to like get through that.
And
order.
You got to keep all the money.
Yeah. But I had to. But I pretty much just took all the money and made Deathsquad. Like I took all those. I got microphones. I got cameras. I got the Deathsquad studio. So I took all the money that I made, just went right back into building the studio.
That's so selfless.
Yeah, that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand is like a lot of people think like, you know, they don't look at it. Hey, I could have bought 15 cars. But instead, I'm taking all my money and making it so you guys can become popular and famous and make money off of your podcast, you know?
It's really nice and, like, really giving. And, like, I never knew the whole story. Right. But, like, I hope everyone, I hope, like, one day, like, people, or not one day, but, like, I hope people stop and they're like, hey.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wish that because anytime I made money, it all went to the studio, so I never really had. It's not like I'm sitting there with like $1 million in the bank or something.
Because it sounds
like
you would have made a ton of fucking money.
No, I would have if I didn't spend it all back into the studio. And
well, it must make you genuinely happy to bring up people, or else.
Right. No, that's why I did it, and that's what made me happy. You know, and because it was like, oh, you know, I created something, and now it's gotten big, and you know,
yeah.
But then you also think about it like, you know, I helped create all these podcasts. I ain't getting a penny from any of them, you know? So
yeah. Did you ever, I mean, like, how could you not feel resentful?
Well, I think when I started Tony's podcast, was the first time where I go, hey, we're 50-50 on this podcast. Any money we make or anything in the future that happens, we are 50-50 on this one. That's the first time I did that.
Good.
Where all the other ones was more like, hey, I'm just helping you get this started. Goodbye. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Kill Tony was like the first time I was like, no, if I'm going to help create this, I'm going to be 50% of this podcast. And which was cool because, you know, it's worked out. And, you know,
sometimes when you sit there, like, you know, in the main room on a Monday with a completely sold out room, I mean, do you ever like stop and be like, wow, like I've just built all this stuff? Do you have those moments a lot?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. You know, well, it's always been, you know, the cool thing about when I created Deathsquad also is that anyone that was a fan of Ari's or Tom Segura's or Joey Diaz and Joe, they also knew me because I was on every single one of these podcasts, you know? So that really helped my comedy, like road gigs and stuff like that. And so when I started doing comedy shows on the road, any city I went to, we would almost sell out or have a lot of people there. And it's just kind of like, we did this all through podcasts. Like
that's insane.
Yeah, now I could go anywhere and do comedy that I want to now. Overnight almost, you know?
Where's the biggest following? Is it Canada?
Canada is the biggest one.
Okay, because there's that Deathsquad Ottawa, Canada account.
Yeah. There's a lot of those. And what's crazy is that there's so many people that have Deathsquad in their name, like Deathsquad Alaska, Deathsquad Canada, Deathsquad Ohio. And there's been so many times where, like, the other day, I noticed Amy Schumer blocked me. And
what the fuck?
Yeah, and so I texted her because we used to hang.
Yeah.
not hang, but we talked, and I was like, "Why'd you block me?" She goes, "Well, I heard you, saying some things online. I just don't want any trouble and blah blah blah." And I'm like, "I didn't say anything," but I'm thinking, I wonder if some people think that all these Death Squad, anytime there's Death Squad, it's me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that happens a lot because there's like all these random people that have me blocked. I'm like, well, why would this person block me? Like Leslie Jones. I'm like, I was just hanging out with you last night. Why did you block me? Like,
that's funny. Yeah. When you saw the Death Squad Ohio, did that make you feel good?
Yeah, it's cool because there's like one for every state almost. There's like Death Squad Florida.
Wow.
Yeah. So anytime I'm going to like Florida, I'll be like, hey, Death Squad Florida, get the gang together. I'm coming there. Let everyone know.
Do people come up to you and they're like, I'm Death Squad?
Yeah. I meet all these people. Like, I'm really good friends with Death Squad Ohio, Death Squad Alaska. I met
and
recently.
What is that? I don't like. It's like this one. It's one
person that kind of like
who reps the.
Yeah, he got the name first, and he's like, I want to be the moderator for Death Squad Ohio.
And then, do these people like meet up to get like?
Yeah, all these.
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like when we go to Ohio, there's like 20 people that are all.
Wow.
That all know each other.
Fan groups.
Yeah, and they all hang out in gangs and stuff.
That's amazing. Oh my God. That's such a trip. So, every night, okay, so I see you every night at the store, and like, it's so weird, like, being at the store is such like an accessible place. People will probably come up to you every day.
Oh, yeah. It's funny because me and Eric, I always talk to Eric that works here, Eric.
Anderson.
Yeah, and like, I would always joke with him like how I'm not passed here and I can't get spots here, but yet I take like 10 photos a night here. People just come up, can I get your photo?
Yeah.
And I'm telling him this, and he goes, that doesn't happen. And so,
so
now, anytime he's outside and it happens, I always go, hey, Eric, look what's happening. I'm getting my photo taken. I'm not on the show. Because it happens a lot. Like last night, I think I took maybe 5 photos. People were, Redban, can I get a photo?
That's a trip.
Yeah, it's a trip. So, but then I showed it to Eric so many times, so now he believes me, but still, no spots.
That's so funny. Me and Steven, so like people come up to us individually, and they're like, oh, you're so funny. I saw you the other night, whatever. But more people have come up to me and Steven since we've gotten married and about like us together as opposed to like separate. And it's almost like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
do you know
weird,
what I mean?
Right?
Like straight, like the other night, I like sold a T-shirt to someone, and at the end, he's like, "Your honeymoon in Italy looked really fun, by the way." And I was like, "What?" It's crazy, but it's just like, it's like public people, public accounts, and
well, yeah, and that's one thing that I always say is that when I meet these people that listen to so many podcasts, they know everything about me. Like, because I've been talking on podcasts for 8 years, every single detail of my life. So when they come up to me, they know me better than my best friend. Like they, type shit. And so it is interesting when they come up to you, they know everything about you, but you've never met them once,
Yeah.
Like, and what's cool is when I met my girlfriend, she was a huge Death Squad podcast fan, Joe Rogan fan. That she had listened to every single podcast I've done. So
your current girlfriend?
Yeah, my current girlfriend.
Okay.
And so when I met her, it was like a cheat code because now all the things that I'm like, oh, I can't tell her that I ever did this, or I can't tell her this. I was like, wait, she already knows all these things. And so like it helped out our relationship amazingly because I didn't have, it was like we already had gone on 100 dates because she already knew everything about me already type thing.
I think she's the sweetest person. I don't mean this in a weird way, but would that ever like creep you? And I don't want to say it in a way that it's like negative,
right?
But does that make you feel? Does that ever like scare you? Not scare, but like I don't know how to put it. I guess it's not about her, but more about other people, just about anyone who knows all this stuff about you already. Like, does that feel weird? But do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Well, some people are just creepy and weird to begin with. So when they know everything about you, it really adds to the and
factor. It's like hard to smile through the conversation.
Yeah, like I mean, I'll have, especially since Rogan attracts so many like weird people, druggy conspiracy. Like how somebody came up to me a while ago and he was just all sweaty. He looked like he just got done doing DMT or something, and just like you could tell that he's socially awkward in life. but he was so excited to see me, and it just made me feel like a stalker. I was talking to a stalker or like a serial killer, just because he was such a creepy person, but yet he knew everything about me, So
yeah, it's almost like you just have to be nice, though.
Right. Yeah.
Have you ever been mean to anyone?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm mean to people all the time. I don't take shit from people. Like I'll just yell at somebody, and it happens quite often because, unfortunately, the negative part is, like, especially here at the end of the night, people get blackout wasted here, and so when they recognize me, they think that they could just come up and like hang on me or do shit.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, God damn it! Like I constantly have to go to like a door guy. I'm like, can you keep an eye on me? This guy won't leave me alone. And it's happened like many times where crazy shit happens, or the person has to get kicked out because they're just trying to fanboy on me too hard or something.
Have you ever gotten like any weird gifts or like?
Oh yeah. I used to. Well, at a point, anytime I'd go to, like, maybe once a week, I would have maybe 20 boxes of people sending me paintings or gifts, things they made. I had people send me cameras.
Where do you have them send it to?
The Ice House, yeah. But it was cool because I've gotten a lot of cool artwork. But it's almost like got so much I need to throw it away, but I don't want to because it's like this is like a Deathsquad cat that somebody made out of forks. And
God, really?
Oh, I have some badass artwork that people have sent me. Somebody sent me the other day about the size of that comedy store sign. A huge mosaic Deathsquad thing, all made out of little broken pieces of glass. It's this huge thing that looks like the logo, but it's all made out of broken glass, and it's.
That's cool.
Yeah, it would be thousands and thousands of dollars for this artist to buy this from the artist, but he just sent it to me for free, and it took him like weeks to do. And he sent me videos of him doing it, and I think they made one for Rogan also that was in the office for a while. I don't know if you saw the Joe one, but it's badass. It has like lights behind it and stuff like that. And it glows. It's cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but I also got a lot of creepy shit. Like like some guy in Japan, a fan from Japan, would always send me fake vaginas and stuff like that. Like fleshlights and stuff like that. So I have all these like weird Japanese sex toys that this guy sends me. I don't know why.
Have you ever used one?
Oh yeah, I use them all the time.
Really?
No.
How are those?
They're okay. Weird. They're okay. Like,
I'm just curious. I never asked anyone.
It's like, I don't know. It's like, it's okay. It doesn't feel like a vagina or anything. It's just more like,
something to come in.
It's kind of like I want to use extra lotion this time. It's just like a treat. But then when it's done, it's just so gross cleaning it up, and
that's like shameful. Yeah. Cleaning it up.
Yeah, when I was sponsored by Fleshlight for 3 years, so they would send me boxes of fleshlights, and so I used to just like use them and then throw it away, and then that was cool. But yeah,
and so. And then you started doing your shows at the Ice House during all of this?
Yeah, so then I started having a weekly show at the Ice House, which I would book, and then that became pretty popular. And back then, it was like the shows here. Like, it was like Tom Segura, Joe Rogan. Like, every show was just monsters.
Killer.
Ari Shaffir, And then the Comedy Store offered me... what is now the Kill Tony spot, and I was doing a podcast with Jason Tebow live every Monday at 8:00 in the Belly Room. And then Tebow drank too much, so then after we did like 30 episodes, it was called The Secret Show. After about 30 episodes, and the old show actually had a lot of pieces of Kill Tony in it. Like, we had an artist that drew every episode. We had, we had a panel of comics, but it was more of an interview show. But then when that happened, then we started doing Kill Tony, and then that started getting good. Then the Comedy Store started giving me like, hey, if you ever want to book a show here, So I started booking shows here. And then like a lot of people probably don't know is that one of my first shows I booked here was the return of Joe Rogan. Because we were trying to get Joe to come back. And Joe finally was like, fine, I'll come back. And that was so...
Why was he just gone ever since the Mencia?
The Carlos Mencia thing. He never wanted to come back. He told everybody he would never come back. But then once Joey Diaz came back, then I think Joe started going, okay, I think I'll come back. And I'd been, come on, just go. So the first time Joe was back, I booked him on that. and Doug Stanhope opened the show.
Wow, what a show.
Yeah, it was just the most ridiculous shows ever. And so I did that for a while, and then that became pretty popular, and the Comedy Store started blowing up, and then they were like, "Hey, we could just book these shows ourselves," you know. So then they took away the.
What is that? A couple of years ago?
Yeah. I think I stopped doing shows here maybe a year ago.
Oh, and you don't do your secret show here anymore?
No, I mean they started doing it. They just pretty much, you know, it got so popular that they were like, well, we could just book these shows, you know. So they started giving me Sundays, and I think I did 2 Sundays. I'm like, I'm good. Sunday's not a good. That's like a hard day to get people to come here.
Yeah, it is.
So I just do
the improv sometimes.
Improv. I was doing it at the Laugh Factory for a bit. I don't know. I hate booking shows. It's too much stress. I don't like it.
What is like the next? I feel like you're pretty good at like predicting and kind of creating the next hot way to consume entertainment. I'm like trying to find the words for that.
Well, I was always saying that the next thing was going to be video podcasts. Everyone has like YouTube stuff, and so that's pretty much where we're at now. I think a lot of people are doing videos like on Facebook or shows on, you know, Instagram Live and stuff like that. I don't really. I guess VR experiences, but I don't know. Like, there's nothing that I really see that's going to blow anything out of the water anytime soon. I think VR is definitely in the future, but that needs to become more compatible, and there needs to be Apple needs to get involved with it, which I think maybe in like 3 years, Apple will release like a VR system or something like that, where everybody has like their iPhone on their head, you know, and I think that's going to be the future, where we could sit in this room together and it'll feel like I'm sitting right next to you and talking to you, but you're actually in Japan or something.
That's what they were talking about on that Elon Musk episode.
Oh, they were?
Yeah. I only listened to half of it, but they were saying like, how do you know it's not a simulation?
Simulation theory. Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
No,
that's fucking weird.
Yeah, virtual reality. I mean, like, have you ever done virtual reality? Have you ever put the helmet on? You got to do it. Like, it's pretty amazing. Like,
you have one at home, I'm sure.
I have 2, but yeah. It's like you'll sit there and think you're somewhere else, and like you'll look around, and everywhere you look, it's somewhere different. But you're just sitting in a living room.
And where do you go?
It depends on the game. Like, there's ones that you go underwater. There's ones that you're on the moon. There's one of the most terrifying ones that I have. It's called Walk the Plank, I think it's called. And I'm scared of heights. I'm like terrified of heights. And so what it is you put this like real piece of wood on the ground, and then you put these goggles on, and in the game, it looks like you're outside in New York. And so you get in this elevator, and then when the elevator door opens, there's just a plank on the side of like going off the top of top of like the World Trade Center, like top of this building. And then you're actually in real life walking on this piece of wood, but in the game, it feels like you're walking on this plank looking down at the street below. And it is the most scariest thing. Like, I almost fainted. Like, that's how, like I started getting like lightheaded.
It's a game committing suicide.
It's testing your fear of heights. And it is.
Is it to train people to get through it?
No, it's just for it's for the rush.
Some sick Japanese person, right?
Yeah, it's for the rush. And what's funny is that I had my girlfriend do it, and she's just like shaking and like crawling.
That's horrible.
Yeah, and I pushed her, and so in the game she fell off the plank in the real life and in the game. So in the game you fall, and so she's like
down a million.
Yeah,
that's like a nightmare.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a game that's just like a fear of? So like one is
it's
in the ocean with like a shark?
Yeah, exactly.
No!
It's a gimmick. Like, that's another one where you go under the ocean and you're like one of these like little cages, you know, like a shark cage. And the shark starts attacking you and then breaking the cage. And then like you're getting...
Who would want to play this?
Yeah. Then there's porn. You can watch porn in VR where you're
fucking the girl?
Where you...
That's so dorky.
Yeah, where the girl's riding you, and you can look around and see her
and
dirty
you can
underwear.
jack off while you're doing it. I guess that's...
Yeah.
Do they have any with clowns, dolls, or spiders? Those are my 3 fears.
Oh yeah, there's a game that's all clowns.
Stop.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's where you're on this roller coaster that's going through like a fun house, and clowns pop out and try to. Yeah, you'd hate it.
Oh my God! What are your other fears? And it doesn't have to be these types of things. It could be life.
Definitely
fears.
heights. I mean, heights are the worst. I could just imagine being on top of a building right now and get butterflies in my stomach. Kind of
Yeah.
Heights. I don't know, man. Getting robbed, mugged.
Have you ever been robbed?
Yeah, I got mugged, so that kind of scared. Like I had PTSD for a couple of years after that.
What happened?
There used to be a karaoke place in Burbank. It was the first karaoke place ever in the whole entire United States. Dimples, and now it's a Whole Foods. They tore it down. But I was there with my girlfriend at the time, who was Veronica Ritchie.
Who's that?
She's a porn star.
Oh, okay.
And like she's very hot. We were dressed up because we went to some event earlier, and we were on the way home. Like, let's stop in and do some karaoke. So we're kind of like all dressed, a little too dressed up to be there type thing. And we had one drink, and it was just too packed. So we decided to leave. And while we're walking to my car, this is in Burbank, which is, if you don't know what Burbank is, it's like the whitest place in America. But you would never think
it's Ohio.
Yeah, you would never think anything bad would ever happen in Burbank. But when we're walking to the car, this guy just pops out of the bush. And he was a black guy, tall. He had a fake beard on, like the ones you get at the Halloween stores with the white straps.
Like Abraham Lincoln?
Yeah. Like it looked like an Osama bin Laden beard.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and with the white straps. And he had like this stocking hat type thing on, or a beanie type thing on. And he had this like long trench coat, and he just had the gun right in my chest.
This is like a character in a video game.
Yeah. He looked like a black wizard. And so, he's like, give me your fucking wallet and blah, 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 blah. And I gave him everything. And then my girlfriend was drunk, so she didn't take it seriously. Mm-hmm. And like, it was one of those things where I look back and I'm like, she could have caught me shot easily. And she was just being a dumb bitch. That's what she was doing.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't want to give you my purse. I'm like, honey, there's a gun in my heart right now. Like, you fucking give her anything you want. Fuck the guy in the bush. I don't give a shit. Do it, whatever he says. And she wouldn't. She kept on doing it. And then finally,
was it a nice purse?
Yeah, it was like
a designer.
Not too nice, no.
Right.
She just didn't want to give up her, like she didn't
want to give up her favorite lip gloss.
Yeah, she didn't want to lose her iPhone or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then finally she did it, and then he walks us to our car, and he makes me get in the back seat, like execution style, like where I'm like laying on my stomach, like hands behind my back, type thing. And then he's like, lay on your stomach. And then she like went in the front seat and she laid on her back. And he goes, motherfucker, I said lay on your stomach. And the whole time the gun's just pushing into my back. And she's not doing anything that he says, he's constantly doing it. Like I was getting pissed off. I was like, I'm about to die because my girlfriend's just drunk. And then finally he slams the door and takes off. And we hear like an escape car drive away. And then we get out of the car and start running. And there's like old people walking on the sidewalk. I'm like, get away from here. I just got robbed, And then police, helicopters, they never caught him. But then for like years, I was scared of like, I was having like flashbacks. Like I would come home from the Comedy Store and was too scared to get out of my car because it was night.
Wow.
And I would be at the grocery store and I would see an old black man. And I'm like, like I was scared. I was scared of black wizards, and that was real shit. That was the first time I ever had something like that. And it's weird because it completely gone away. And then maybe like a year ago, out of nowhere, I had this fear. Like it just came back out of nowhere. Like I was getting out of my car again. I was like I started panicking, and it's So yeah, that's shit, crazy shit.
Wow.
And the interesting fun fact for that, the day after it happened, we had Kevin Smith on the Joe Rogan podcast, and
he had the beard.
Yeah, and you could tell I was shaken up a little from it. And when Rogan went to the bathroom, I was like, "Oh, you know what happened to me last night, Kevin?" And I told him the story, so that I would always remember that because I was so out of it. Like I was.
Yeah. What did you do to try to get over it? Did you go to therapy?
No.
I
just got over it.
Wow.
Toughened it up.
Just like a man.
Yeah, man. Fucking bury that shit deep.
Oh my God. Well, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I can't think of anything else I want to ask.
Have you ever been robbed?
No, I haven't. I'm so scared. I want to say I've never been robbed, but there's not wood for me to knock on in here. I haven't, thank God. I'd be really scared. Yeah. Obviously. If I did, I don't know what I would do in the situation. It sounds really terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But something did weird did happen to me yesterday. So I was at the gym. I was at Crunch, and I was in like the big room. And there was this guy in there with dreadlocks who was lying face down, and he wasn't moving. And I was like, what the fuck is this person? Like, what is he doing?
Right.
I kind of thought like maybe he had like overdose and was like a druggie. Like he was in a long sleeve like flannel shirt and with like the heater behind him. It was very odd. So then he like wakes up like 10 minutes later, and then I was like, oh my God, I thought you were dead. And then he was like, no, I was just like stretching. And then he told me this whole story about how he's a healer. And yeah, you know, dreadlocks down to his like forearm. And then he was telling me, yeah, he's a healer and he like massages people, and he you know, he was just heating up his muscles, and it was like a whole thing. And he had like a lot of information, so it sounded like he, you know, knew what he was talking about, that he was a professional who told me that he trains a lot of athletes, you know, polo players,
scams a lot
horses.
Of athletes.
Okay, so then he goes, and I have this thing where my hand gets really hot. And it's like a really, you know, special healing technique that I've had forever. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And he goes, I could show you if you want. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, I have a lot of problems with and I'm so gullible sometimes.
Oh my God.
And I said, well, I have a lot of like problems with my lower back. Like, do you know what I could do for that? And then he was like, oh, well, sit down and I could try it for you if you want. And then I realized I was sitting down and he was massaging me, and I like felt weird about it because I was like, okay, I'm married now. Like, I can't be doing stuff like this.
Let me massage your inner thigh.
It sounded completely normal at first, but then while he's massaging me, he goes, I know I look weird, but you know, I play in a reggae band. And the second he said that, I'm like, okay, some guy in a reggae band is actually just massaging me. It's not.
Fuck that. That's why you don't talk to people in the gym. Like that's, you know.
I know. And I was like, oh my God. Like, and then in my head, the second he said that, I was like, it's not a healer. It's a guy in a reggae band.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And then, you know, he stopped. And then when he left the room for a second, I like ran out. And I was like, spent like the whole, and then I was like, oh my God, like, do I have to tell Steven this happened? You know what I mean? And then there's this whole thing, you know, like when you're sober, like, is this harmful or is this helpful? Right. And I was just like, I don't know if he needs to know this information, but I felt like I was like keeping this weird secret, but I didn't know how to tell him. So I got a weird massage at the gym today from like a guy in a reggae band. And then I thought about it this morning, and I was like, I really want to tell this on the podcast, so I would have to tell him first. Yeah. Even though I wanted to.
You should have changed it to upper back or something like that.
Well, I didn't say where. Sorry, Steven. And yeah, but I just feel like you've been married before?
No, I've been engaged.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? Of just like, what do I need to tell them? Or I would always want to, because me and him are friends, but it's like, I don't want to look bad, or at least maybe I just don't need to be putting myself in these situations.
Definitely the later.
I got tricked.
Yeah, there's certain places like you just don't talk to people. Like you don't talk to people at gyms. And especially when any kind of reggae looking motherfucker says, here, let me touch you. You got to be like, no, I'm good. Get away from me.
I know. And then Steven told me like a whole thing, like you don't understand, like guys do whatever they can to touch you.
Exactly.
And it's like, I don't know about that.
What? You were born today?
Thank you.
You know that. I mean, fuck that.
I get like tricked by some things. Like I consider myself to be the smart person. I have street smarts. I normally get things. I don't like it when people come up to me and hug me. That's like a huge pet peeve here. Does that bother you?
I just hate saying hi to people. Because I see it, it's like, hey, I just said hi to you yesterday. Like, we're at the same place. Can't we just like maybe once a week say hi or something?
Yeah, I didn't have anything to say to you yesterday.
Right,
today I haven't thought of anything new.
Right.
But I'll let you know
but
for
yeah,
sure.
especially it's like when you first get here, it's like, hey, hi, hey. Like when you're just walking, you know, from
I don't even say hi to a lot of people, but then when they don't say hi to me, I'm like, what an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing that bothers me and Steven is that a lot of people here and a lot of open micers, I'll say, people I'm not fucking, and now I sound like a dick, but a lot of people that I'm not friends with will come up to me and hug me, and it's like, I don't even know you, and it's like, I don't want to be touched by you.
Yeah.
This one woman who comes here, who is like an older woman, you know, she's odd. She comes up to both of us separately and hugs us all the time, and we're like, why are we letting her do this? But because she's old, we feel like we have to respect her. And she has a nice smile, so it's like, but it's like a wolf in a sheep's clothing sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm the best at getting out of those situations.
What do I do?
You just gotta be kind of like rude about it. Like I'll just be like, if they're coming in for the hug, I'll just put my fist, like thumb fist, while they're still walking with their arms open. You know, like, hey, there you go.
Yeah. Well, have you ever been like, oh, I don't like to be touched?
No, I don't do that, but I'm
because that's like aggressive.
Yeah, I just stand my ground type shit. Like like if they're coming with their arms open, I'll just put my almost like you're gonna walk right into my fist, just bump fist with me and get the fuck away from me type thing.
And do people go, whoa?
Yeah. And I'm cold to people though. It's easy for me because I'm like, stop this dumb shit, you know? Like,
isn't that funny? Like, half the people are like, oh, cool, fist pump, and like don't think anything of it. But it's always like the predator type people who make it like you're the bad person. And they're like, whoa.
Yeah. Fuck them.
Yeah, this guy in the back hallway went to hug me, and he's like, Chelsea, and I was like, I don't fucking know this guy. He's always coming up to me and hugging me. I'm done with it. I just like got done with it. And then I was like, hey, I don't want to be hugged by you. I don't know you. I don't want to be touched. And he was like, whoa, oh my God, okay. And like,
see, I don't even say anything. I just really get being cold. Like if they're coming up like, hey, I'm like, hey, and then I'll walk away. Like,
you do that to me every time I see you.
No, but I'm like, I don't give a fuck like with shit like that. I'll be cold and if they can't get it after the third time of doing it, people catch on. Like, I'm not gonna say who, but there's this person that's been hanging here that drives me fucking crazy, and she's always like, "What? No hug?" And I'm always just like,
hate that.
You know, like I'll walk away, and after doing it for like maybe 4 times, I think she now gets it. Like, because now she just doesn't say anything to me, and I'm like, good, see, it worked. Get the fuck away from me.
But it's like, why do we all have to hug each other? I never felt this way, to be honest, until like I think I just kind of grew up and stopped like sexualizing my stuff and like got in a relationship with someone I cared about and didn't need to flirt with other guys to get attention.
Right.
So now I don't need to be touched by other people, and it's like such a hard line for me now. It's like, do I sound crazy?
No. I think
I'm like really passionate about it.
I think the comedians, there's like just a lot. There's also a lot of like depression and fucked up people here. So like they need a hug. Like they're like trying to
see. I don't think of it that way.
You know, they're sitting at home shaking, eating ice cream. You know, like
that's what I did last night.
That's what I did.
I tried my first Halo Top ice cream.
Halo's pretty good, man. There's for carbs. Like I'm doing this diet where I'm not allowed to have carbs or just a little bit amount of carbs. There's this ice cream called Enlightenment that's just like
that the
Halo
dreadlock
Top
guy made.
Yeah, but it's just like Halo Top, but it's way like better for you.
What's the difference?
Less carbs, less sugar. And it tastes pretty good.
Really?
Yeah.
You ever go to Air One?
What's that?
It's like the nicest health food market that's so expensive.
No.
It's like top tier.
Yeah.
It's so funny. So Air One, it's where the Grove is on the corner. You probably have noticed it. It's on Beverly Drive. It's amazing. But everything is super expensive in there. I feel like it's like Air One, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, and then like what? Oh, and Bristol Farms is one up before Whole Foods. Dude.
Yeah. I mean I only eat like meat and cheese, so I don't really have anything I can buy at Whole Foods or anything like that. Like we went to the new Whole Foods in Burbank, and like we went down every single aisle, and I think there's only like 5 things I could
because of the new diet.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a name to the diet?
Keto diet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And that's the one to keep your body. Is this something Joe told you to do?
No. It keeps you in ketosis.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just don't eat sugar, or you don't eat carbs. You don't eat like high fats. You know,
everything good.
Yeah, but after a while, it's like you know, I don't want steak anymore. I don't want chicken anymore.
So what do you eat?
Meat, chicken, steak.
Oh,
you know, I still have to do it, but I don't think it's the best diet. I mean, it makes me feel great, and you know, I've lost a lot of weight, but like it doesn't let you have fruit. It doesn't let you like I can't have rice. Like I
rice.
you know, I can only eat half the vegetables. You know, I can't eat carrots. Carrots are bad for me. That can't be right.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because carrots have a lot of sugar in them. So, and like I never thought, fruits got sugar in it. You know, like grapes are horrible for you. Like I know it's like
horrible.
Yeah, like I always like grapes would be like a nice, light snack. And no, grapes are like the candy of
I don't know any of this.
Yeah. This diet really teaches you about sugars and how bad they are for you and how everything has sugar in it.
So you shouldn't be eating that ice cream.
No, it's sweetened with sucrose or whatever it's called. So it does have, it's not the best for you, but
it's like sugar alcohol.
Yeah, it's got like 4 carbs though, so like per serving. So it's like I'm allowed to have 20 carbs a day, so I can have ice cream if I want, but I can only have 1 serving. So.
What are the vegetables that you should eat?
Anything that grows above ground.
Okay.
Anything below ground.
I don't know what grows below
Yeah, like
ground.
lettuce, cauliflower, broccoli, mushrooms, but not anything like radishes.
Who wants radishes?
I love radishes.
Really? I hate radishes.
That's all right.
It's
but that's
dirt.
definitely something that the older you get, you start liking things you never liked. Like I never liked blue cheese, and then one day you're just like, oh, I love blue cheese. Or
really? Yeah, I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, your tastes change when you get older, and you start getting things like, oh, now I get. The only thing I still hate is olives, and I hope I never.
I like olives.
Yeah, but I fuck olives. I never liked mushrooms, and then
I like mushrooms.
Yeah, I love mushrooms.
I've never had a sandwich.
What? Yeah, you have.
No, I haven't. I've never had
You've never had a chicken sandwich?
Well, okay. I've never had like cold cuts before.
You've never had like a sub?
I've never.
You never went to Subway?
Ew. Ugh. It smells so bad.
You never had a ham and cheese sandwich?
No.
That's fucking. That is weird as fuck.
I know. I can't eat a lot of stuff.
Why?
Because
it just freaks you out?
It's just what I've set up for myself.
Oh my God, it's so stupid. Ham and cheese sandwich. You got to get a grilled cheese sandwich. Have you ever
I've had
one?
that. I had my first grilled cheese sandwich last year.
Yeah, and you dip that shit in tomato
good.
soup.
I didn't do the whole thing. I got it from Jones on 3rd. It was
You've
good.
had a sandwich. you just haven't had like
I've had like
deli
chicken
sandwich.
parms.
You haven't had deli sandwich.
Yeah, but it doesn't appeal to me. It's like really gross to me. Like I don't eat eggs. I wish I did.
Eggs?
Yeah.
Why?
They're so gross.
Maybe you only had one kind of egg though. Have you ever had a hard-boiled egg?
Ugh.
Oh,
No.
weird.
Steven swallows those in just like one thing.
Hell
like
yeah. Hell yeah. That's how I do it.
Like a pelican.
I love eggs. Eggs is something I got into later though. Like I never was into eggs, and then
Well, a lot of hot girls eat eggs.
yeah, it's because they're good for you.
Like I know a lot of hot girls would just eat like 8 egg whites.
Yeah, and then they fart all day long.
But I don't know. I just can't get into it. I wish I could. I don't know. I'm very picky.
Do you like bacon?
No.
Wow.
I don't like a lot of stuff. Try something else.
God, you're one of those people.
What else is there?
Sushi?
Yeah, I love sushi.
Okay.
Everyone loves sushi. Yeah, I mostly just eat pasta every day.
Pasta?
Yeah, I love pasta.
Wow.
I had so much good pasta
Lucky.
in Italy, obviously.
I haven't had pasta in a long time.
Yeah, so we dieted pretty hard, just like you, right before the wedding. And we were like pretty much starving the week of the wedding. Like starving.
What was your diet? Just not eating?
Like a couple of days before, I was literally just eating like grilled fish and vegetables. And we both, one night when we went to sleep, our legs were shocking. Like it was like fireworks were going off. What do you think? And I was wondering if you experienced any of that, not eating flour. It was like our body was like, we couldn't sleep. And it
Both of you or just you?
Both of us. It was weird. It like happened in the same night. Like we had restless leg syndrome. And I don't know. It was like from like starving or
That's
something.
weird. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that is. That's weird.
Yeah. Do you want to create any shows? TV shows?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Kill Tony is the one that I think will be a great TV show. We've been working, getting that more TV ready the last couple, the last year. Like, you know, the show used to be a lot of like copywritten music, and now we have the band play a lot of the songs now instead, and just getting it more TV friendly. And there's a lot of people that are interested in it, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I've always wanted a cartoon, so that's like bucket list. Have a cartoon, like a South Park, type thing.
You could. I totally see. I feel like anything. It seems like anything you want to do, you just are able to do.
Right, simulation theory. You know,
What is that again?
it's the simulation theory.
I forgot.
We're on a computer program, and
Stop.
You can control it.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you really believe that?
Yeah, your husband's not real. You thought of
it. Wait, hold on. Do you really believe in this, the simulation theory?
I believe it more than religion.
And tell me again what it means.
Okay, imagine 20,000 years from now, where technology is. We have an iPhone. In 20,000 years, what is it? And one idea is that what if somebody created like a fake world where you could put on a mask and you're living a whole new life and you think you're real? What if we did that? And right now we're all in this world, and then when you die, imagine when you wake up and you're somewhere else and you're taking off the mask. Go, oh shit! I was just playing like it was 2018.
Like that Black Mirror episode.
Yeah.
So is that what that episode was about? Assimilation?
Yeah.
So basically, it's like you're controlling your game of Sims,
right?
And
we forget that we're doing it,
which is true,
right?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like if you want to do something, you can do it,
right?
So why? So that's almost like instilling a level because I think confidence takes stuff out of people,
right?
And self-worth and self-esteem and whatever else, negative character defect.
So, like, a long time ago on Rogan podcast, we were talking about the simulation theory and how, what if we're all code? And, code is ones and zeros. And I was like, that's why I said something like, well, I'm going to start throwing sevens in there and try to hack out the code or something like that. And so now, like, I had this weird thing with the number 7 where I see it all the time. It's everywhere. And it's like ever since that day, like I have had this weird connection with 7 where like it's almost like kind of like, am I seeing 7s because I told myself I'm going to start seeing 7s and now I'm seeing them everywhere? So I always joke and kid about the simulation theory, how that would be amazing if that was real. Like if when we die, we go, oh yeah, there's no heaven and hell. We're like, I completely forgot we were playing this game in 2048.
Whoa. Yeah. Well, there's like this whole thing where it's like, if you open up I read this like book, I forgot what it was called, but it's like if you open up your eyes to the world, you'll start noticing things that you didn't notice.
Right.
So that's like example for the 7.
7.
The exercise in the book is like, sit on the side of the street and like for 10 minutes, watch all the cars that go by, and you'll be surprised how many like yellow bugs drive by.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like you're just not opening up your eyes to the world, and then you're realizing when you want to see something, it will appear. And I think that also has to do with like obviously like energy and manifestation and stuff like that.
Yeah, that 7 exercise is something I've been doing for about 5 years, and it's really amazing. Like I recommend it. It doesn't have to be the number 7. Like you said, it could be a yellow car, but just focus on something and just out of nowhere you'll notice it's everywhere. It's kind of fucked up. It's like,
so you just said exercise, so you know that it's now you've made it into like an energy exercise almost.
Yeah.
And you knew that
it's pretty interesting though how, to me, it's just fucking weird, the 7 thing for me, because I mean every day something really fucked up will happen and it'd be about 7.
I'm looking for a 7. I don't see any on the labels. You have one?
Yep.
Wow. So I just lost my train of thought on all of that. So do you use like manifesting for all the stuff that you've accomplished?
No, I don't. No.
Or you're just like, I'm going to do this, and you didn't know it was going to turn out to be what it was.
I was going to do. I did it. I used to do it as a like joke about the simulation theory. I would even I think for like 3 years on the Joe Rogan podcast, every episode I would hide a 7 in the episode. Like even there was one episode where at the bottom it says like the Joe Rogan Experience, and I changed like a T into a 7.
That's cool.
Yeah, and
to see people notice.
Yeah, and people started noticing, and people actually edited videos together where they show all the 7s.
Wow.
And but I was just doing it back then, like fucking around with the idea of the simulation theory. But now it's like years later where it's like, oh no, this is fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's also like setting out to do things without having expectations, sort of thing.
Yeah. It's kind of like, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in
Thank
today.
you for having.
And where can we find you on social media?
Redban, REDBAN on everything, and Deathsquad.tv.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Oh, and whose idea was it to have the girls on Kill Tony?
I can't remember if it was me or Tony, but it was the whole idea was it was based off Kill Bill and the girl into Uncut Kill Bill. So like we wanted to have a regular, but we also wanted to have girls on the show. And I can't remember if it started off as, I think it started off as one person, and then we just started having two. But yeah, I can't remember who was me or Tony that thought of that.
I like that you guys do that.
Yeah. We don't do it anymore. We have a guy now.
Yeah, I know. Why did that change?
Just because I don't know why it changed. I think we just found Malcolm at the right time, and we were just so amazed by him that we were like, "Fuck it, let's try it. Let's try a guy for once." Yeah,
he has a very interesting energy on stage. Like he's fun to watch.
Yeah, he has
his own
good
thing.
energy.
Yeah,
he's very like Carmichael, where Carmichael is always such a sweetheart and such a nice guy, and every time you're around him, you feel his like positivity, and that's how I feel with Malcolm. And yeah, but when we met Malcolm, after like the second or third week of meeting him, we were like, "Fuck it," we didn't have a regular at the time, and this guy, we could just feel that he's going to blow up, quick.
Yeah.
So, and then we were right.
Awesome. All right. Thank you again so much for coming on. Guys, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. Thanks. Bye.